Hello, you beautiful souls and you beautiful soulettes. How are you doing? Today I'm talking about 6 years. 6 years since I started doing this work. 6 years. Wow. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So yeah, 6 years ago, more or less, I'm saying 6 years, I think it's about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was visited by the Emissaries. The Emissaries came to see me, and I still remember exactly where I was, and I still remember the conversations afterwards where I was shitting myself thinking, is this real? Because I don't know what was more frightening, that I was making it up in my mind, and therefore I was going a bit woo-hoo-hoo, or that it was true, and I was going to have to commit to something that I didn't want to do. Why did I not want to do it? Because because my presence on the internet was a business presence with, like it's a niche following, our Spanish channel, but it's quite big and we're quite well known. And I was going to suddenly start talking about messengers of God. And so I was a bit worried about that. Anyway, as we know, it worked out beautifully anyway. And sometimes people from the other channel find me and go, wow, I didn't realize, Gordon, that you did that. And, very rarely do people say, hey, I found out, what an idiot. And no, very rarely, no, never. And so I started giving these messages. And the messages right from the beginning, often I'll go back and I'll listen to the early messages just to see what's been said. And there's the same message. It's the same message. God, we've covered some ground. Boy, have we covered some ground. And this is the idea that I've got. Because right at the beginning, I said to the Emissaries, when the job's finished, please let it be finished. I don't want to be going on and on and on, making an arse of myself. Like people that have like something that's really good, and then they just milk it, and then it becomes ridiculous. And they said, no, when the job's finished, it'll be finished and we'll be very happy and everything. I didn't realize at the time, their inference was that it's just a short-term job. But their perception of time compared to mine is completely different. Completely different. So for them, it was, when the job's done, it's job and finish. It was a job and finish. That's what I had. So yeah, it's 6 years down the line. Do I get the sense that the job's finished? No, I do not get the sense that the job's finished. And I'll explain why. So the first thing that they said literally is, and I'm not using literally like the young people, literally I walked in and literally looked around. No. They literally said word for word, this is a message of great hope. We're bringing a message of great hope about the Great Awakening. Okay? And that's never changed. Personally, I believe that that's the only message that they've got. Their message is, there's great hope because the Great Awakening is upon us. That's it. Now, they've kind of given me that message in 1,000 different ways. 1,000 different ways of saying it. We've talked about timelines, we've talked about soulmates, we've talked about demonic possession, we've covered everything. And yet every time that I say to them, how is everything? They say, everything is going as it should be. They've never ever stopped saying that. Ever. Since the beginning. And it becomes a bit dry after a while, like, yeah, everything's gone, yeah, but give me a bit of oof, a bit of oh. And they just say everything's going as it should do. So what's the point? What's the point? What I see the Emissaries doing as a job is to be like cheerleaders. Cheerleaders that are letting everybody know that it's okay, everything's going to be fine. And it's just this constant reminder that no matter how bad things get, and boy, they've been bad, and I don't assume for a moment that they're not going to be bad going forward. But no matter how bad everything is, the Great Awakening is upon us, and everything's okay, and everything's going to be fine, and we've got a happy ending. And often I've said to them, is there anything left to talk about? Is there anything more to be said about this? And what they said to me this very last time that I asked them that, is they said, imagine we are this. We are a battery charger. And so what happens is we give the message, you pass the message on, people listen to the message and they charge the batteries back up again. And then they can go on doing what it is that they're here to do. That's basically their job. Cheerleaders, to give a bit of oomph to everybody. It isn't that they're going to tell us anything wowzer, anything that's going to change your life forever, other than maybe the initial message. But once you have the message, there's nothing that they're going to say that's going to be radical. It's just, they're going to keep saying the same thing. It's okay. Everything's okay. Everything is okay, and everything is going to be fine. And in many ways, I'm extremely proud of the Emissaries and of their absolute stickability on never giving me any more than that. They won't. They've never, right, you know, sometimes I trick them. I don't trick them. They'll be listening. I don't trick them. But I ask like a tricky question to try and get them to give me a percentage, to try and get me to explain how much down the line we are, and get them to talk about things that they wouldn't normally talk about. And sometimes they'll give me a little bit of something, but they always say, but that's not our remit, that's not our area. And so we don't have the ability to talk about that with any authority. However, blah, 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 blah. But they've been absolutely rigid in the fact that they will not give details, they will not make forecasts or prophecies of dates, they will do nothing. Never. And I like that. I like that. And the reason that I like that is because I've seen some very accomplished channelers, very wonderful people who, how can I put it? When we were going through the pandemic, people wanted to know when it was going to end. People wanted to know when it was going to be over. And so there was this massive, massive pressure on people who were channeling to come up with dates. And not just people who were channeling, people with cards or whatever, any kind of divination process. And lots of them did it. And I have a feeling, there's a very fine line between channeling something and slipping in a bit of your own stuff. God knows. The emissaries always say to me that in their messages, it's about 70% the emissaries' messages and 30% my thing that I'm putting in. Okay, fair enough. But I have a feeling that lots of people found themselves under such pressure to give something because people wanted something. They didn't want to hear everything's going to be all right. They wanted by June, it's going to be sorted, by blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, what happened was I think some really good channelers and some people who have tremendous gifts lost a lot of credibility because of that. Because, they promised things that didn't happen. So, that aside, the emissaries have never done that. And I don't assume that they ever will. Unless they say, hey, it's here. That would be, I suppose, the message. It's here. So, and that really answers my question that I have sometimes about why am I doing this? What's this about? All this is about just helping people to charge their batteries. Helping people to know that they're on the right track. Helping people to know that everything's all right. It's going to be okay. That they just keep doing what they're doing. And that's it. So my job through the emissaries is just to help people to have the strength to carry on. God knows we need it. God knows we need strength to carry on. So it's been my privilege to do this for 6 years. And if I have to do it another 6 years, it'll be my privilege if I have to do another, 6 years after that, 18 years, Jesus Christ, he would have to help me. So, there you have it. I love you all and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.